Dr. Rachel Gerard.
And this is Dr. Laurel Kay, and we are not your doctor. We are here, just the two of us for now, but Tara is actually going to join us. She is caught at work, which is very classic.
Very understandable. So we'll just get started, and then she'll join when she is able to. Today we have a special episode. It is Valentine's Day themed.
Yes, it is. Do you do things for Valentine's Day, Rachel?
Okay, I do not, because my husband and I, our dating anniversary is actually February 16th. He always says it's purpose by design that he waited to ask me on the first date 2 days after Valentine's Day. It kind of works out because then we just do something for our anniversary and we never do anything for Valentine's Day because it's just too much. Are you going to do anything with Annie?
No, I am genuinely so burnt out and tired right now. And Annie is on vacation. She's in Puerto Rico. She actually gets back on Valentine's Day, but I work on Valentine's Day. And to be honest, Valentine's Day has never sung to me. I mean, I like any excuse to do cute little things and celebrate. And I actually don't really care that it's so commercially overrun because every single possible holiday is. And again, I love an excuse to celebrate. But yeah, I'm working and it's not that big a bummer.
I feel the exact same way. I'm also working on Valentine's Day, and then Spencer's on a business trip. It's just like never been something that's really. I love a good Galentine's though. Like I used to throw a yearly Galentine's Day party, and like we used to get my friends like little roses and stuff for Galentine's Day because I feel like that's more fun.
It is more fun. I've also been single for the last 5 years before this, and I know that Valentine's Day can be kind of hard for some people. If you want to be in a relationship and you're currently not, it can extra sting to have everything around you be about love for at least a month. But I want to say maybe there was one Valentine's Day once where I was bothered by it, but for the most part, I really enjoyed being single, so it didn't feel oppressive. And yeah, I love celebrating my friend relationships and in a way that's been much more enjoyable, a lot less pressure, and just really cute.
Me too. Well, not the being single part. I'm like a serial monogamist, but I just mean like the Valentine's Day, celebrating your friendships. I realized as I was saying that last year on Valentine's Day, I had dinner with 4 girlfriends and 3 of us were in relationship. One of us wasn't, and it was just all of us were just like, yeah, this is much what we'd rather be doing then.
So much more fun sometimes. I mean, I'm in a relationship with a woman, but so it's still kind of hanging out with the girls, but
it's different because it's romantic.
Yeah, it's different because it's romantic. And
totally.
Yeah, it is fun to shoot the shit with people and not have it be anything super deep. I also wanted to ask, and I'll ask Tara this when she comes as well, but how are you handling being in your relationship given how much our job currently demands as far as time and energy? And yeah, how are you maintaining having a really nice relationship while being so stressed and tired all the time, which at least is how I feel?
I think that it's like interesting because I feel like we have a lot less quality time together than we have historically. And I think that's been hard because we both just miss it. And so like we oftentimes have to block out like, oh, like this morning is just going to be like time for us to just like snuggle and have coffee in bed and do our thing and just like joke around and go for a walk. And I'd say like it is a bummer to not have as much quality time as we used to have. That being said, I will also say that there's like nothing better than if you have a rough day at work and you come home to your partner and they are just like there to just be like loving and supportive and giggly and joke around and talk about things nothing to do with medicine. I feel like it's like the best antidote to a bad day. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I started my relationship this year, or I guess in the summer of this past year, and I'm in a relationship with another resident, so honestly it's really good she gets it, but it also is so hard, and especially because we both have pretty bad schedules and they're not necessarily bad at the same time. I think that's been kind of a blessing and a curse. It's definitely been one of the more challenging things, and what'll happen is sometimes my schedule is bad and hers is easy, or hers is bad and mine is easy, whereas we're both bad, but they're differently bad. So she will have like a long string of very long days for the week, and I will be on nights at the same time. So we just like literally never see each other. We're both kind of miserable, and we don't yet live together. So we just really don't see each other, and that can be super hard.
How's that been going right now? Because like her schedule is a lot lighter than yours as a second year and your first year, and it can be hard because you also like more alone time than she does, and like it's just difficult to navigate if you're not getting that. Like, how has that been?
Yeah, honestly, it's been good because we've communicated well about it, but it also is hard. Like, I think ideally you'd be on exactly the same wavelength as your partner at all times, and your need for togetherness or for time alone would super align, and we would have a similar work schedule and so on and so forth. But as long as we are communicating about it and reaching a compromise, it's perfectly fine. I think what I find most difficult is I do love having alone time, but I also love together time. And our job just leaves so little time, period, that I don't have enough alone time or together time. And it's really just a bit like, I just feel like I'm losing either way. But I know that it's not going to last forever. And that is the hope that I carry in my heart. And I mean, she's great about it. When I am having a more difficult time with fewer hours, she often like makes me meals and drops them off at the hospital or leaves them outside my door so that I come home to a surprise treat. And it's just super sweet. And I've tried to return the favor, though I do think that as interns, our schedules are particularly overstuffed a lot of the time. But I have been able to return the favor, and it's nice.
That's really cute. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, we get it where we can. It's probably not the ideal way to start a relationship in terms of pure logistics, but at the same time, there could be worse. Like, we're not doing long distance, though it sometimes feels like that.
That's true. I will
Yeah.
also say the nice thing is that as you guys both, she's literally a second year in our program. So you can look at her schedule and be like,
Mhm.
oh, that will be mine next year. It's nice. I will.
Yes, so helpful. Yeah, so true. I mean, I'm pointing out all the things that are bad about it more than any of the things that are bad. It is kind of awesome. I think it's the best deal. She, it's just so awesome that she gets it. She really feels as passionately about the thing that we're doing as I do. And honestly, probably more. I mean, she's an awesome doctor, is what I think. And I just love that we understand like the role that our work plays in our lives and how it often is more than just work. And then sometimes it's worse than normal work. And either way, I don't have to explain anything. I was dating a bit in New Haven and I went on,
That's where Laurel went to med school, for those of you who don't know.
yeah, I went on a couple of Hinge dates and I met some really lovely people, but we just were never super aligned as far as schedules and romance and being on the same wavelength with our careers. I think I always felt like I knew what was coming ahead for me, and I knew it was going to be a hard time where I wasn't going to be making very much money and I was going to have this really all-consuming thing. And I don't get the sense that that ever super clicked with the people that I was dating, and that was super okay. I don't think it's that necessary that everybody walks around understanding or wanting to understand, and vice versa. But it just, we weren't on the same wavelength and it really wasn't for me. And I didn't want to set myself up to resent somebody. I went on a couple dates as well with somebody here in Boston when I was first getting here, or at least like maybe after I'd settled for a couple weeks. But
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
yeah, she was really lovely. But I think it was on our third date. She was telling me about an upcoming vacation she was going on, and she'd just come off of a 3-day weekend. And she was talking about all of the trips she had planned for the summer to go hiking and to go visit her parents. And it was so nice. Like, I remember thinking that, wow, this is super lovely for you. And I am very excited for you. But we had also just gotten our schedule for boot camp, which is the first month of proper going into the hospital. And we also had like a ton of didactics on top of that. And I remember seeing that I was working, or at least like having to do things 6 out of 7 days a week most weeks. And I knew my summer would not have a single 3-day weekend. And I went home and I think I had a mini meltdown and I just decided to call it. I couldn't do it. She was lovely, but it wasn't like I had a flame ignite or anything. And I got overwhelmed and didn't want to set myself up for failure.
Is it like you felt like dating someone who had such an open schedule when like you were like when you work so much would just be really hard? Is that it? Like with FOMO and
Yeah, it was a good combination of FOMO and honestly purely jealousy and resentment, which I just don't think are good grounds to start a relationship on. I mean, we constantly have small elements of that with all of our relationships and friendships, but ideally it's quite little and very far outweighed by the joy that we get from being around people and the understanding and the respect and the love that you feel between one another. So jealousy and resentment should be a very minor thing. And I already was feeling an inordinate amount of those two emotions compared to the interest that I had in this person. And it wasn't good. And it wasn't her fault, obviously. She sounded like she had a super cool job that she really enjoyed. It compensated her well, and she got lots of time off and spent that time off doing things that were meaningful to her. But I just knew myself, and this is totally a me problem. I just knew that I was going to be making this comparison all year, and I would not have been able to do it.
Honestly, it's good that you recognize that about
And
yourself.
I definitely don't think being in medicine is mutually exclusive from having a partner in who's not in medicine. I have had very strong attractions to people completely out of sight of medicine. I actually literally never thought I would want to date somebody in medicine because we are kind of intense and our schedules really do suck. And I don't know, I wanted the diversity of perspective. It's sometimes you bring work home with you in a way that I probably wouldn't as much if I wasn't in a relationship with another resident. And also, if Annie were to quit and become a circus performer, I imagine that I would still really love her. So I do think it's independent of what we do. It just right now, in these few years when it's intense and hard, it's easier. And I mean, medicine as a career, it's not going to ever be super chillaxed, but at the same time, it's not going to be this strenuous and fast paced the entire time.
Tara's here. Yay. Hi, Tara.
No, I've made it back finally.
Talking about relationships and dating inside versus outside of medicine.
Oh, what a good question. I don't even know if that's a question. Yeah, my fiance is also a doctor. I feel like there are pros and cons, aren't there? I mean, a pro obviously being that you can empathize with each other and the medical jargon doesn't need to be censored. But I guess an obvious con is the rotas, the work-life balance, and in the UK at least, I don't know about in the US, but for us, our training places are so competitive now that it's really hard to find somewhere where you can live and work together if you both want to do certain careers. So I know even at the moment, the ward that I'm working in, there are two registrars that are like have a child together. They both do respiratory medicine, but in order for them to be able to work together in the same trust, they've had to come all the way out to where I work to make it feasible. And just because the competition for jobs means that if you want to, if you want to do a certain job, then you got to be out in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, difficult.
That's definitely a different type of difficult thing. Because Rachel and I were chatting a bit before you got here about how my partner's in medicine, Rachel's is not. There are definitely benefits to both. And I think just for me, because the schedule is so terrible, but it's terrible for both of us and not at the same time. And it's not completely unique to medicine to have a difficult schedule or a challenging work-life balance. But I've found that it's really nice that she understands what it's like.
It's interesting because I also think it's like a personality thing too. Like, I could never date someone in medicine. I just know this about myself. Like, there is no way in hell I would ever work with someone in medicine. And I think it's because I firmly keep work at work so strongly to the point that I feel like the majority of my friends are not doctors. Like, the ones who are, like Laurel, you are the only friend of mine who's a doctor that I talk about work with.
Oh my God, I'm honored.
What about me?
Best friend too. Yes, you, new friend. Viewers, Tara and I have never met in person, so it's really funny. Yes, definitely. But I'm just saying, like, I like my friends who are doctors, we truly talk about our significant others, what we're doing, popping around like the world, like random things. We do not talk about work. All my friends, except for you, Laurel, we talk about work. And so I think I just couldn't date someone in medicine because I just don't like talking about work outside of work.
Yeah, exactly. Any other words that you want to add about your wisdom from our own love lives before we get on to our listener questions?
I was just gonna say that I also think it's interesting just how person dependent it is. Because for me, like my personality, dating someone in medicine, I'd be like, hell no, that just would not work. But then I think for you guys, it's like a real bonus to have someone in medicine. So that's all I wanted to say. Depends on the person.
Absolutely. I think that is so true of most romance, but we will continue to give our hot takes and relate it back to our experience. This is very much not medical in the classical way. And by the way, we are not your doctors. We're not giving medical advice, not now, not ever. But I think it's very obvious from the theme of this episode that we're kind of taking a different spin here and we are just, yeah, chatting about our lives rather than about anything particularly to do with health. Though relationships, I think, play into health a lot. And yeah, we're going to start answering some listener questions. Our first listener question. Hi from Brooklyn. I am 24 and in a relationship that exists exclusively in private. We've been seeing each other for 8 months. We text every day, sleep over multiple times a week, and know each other's childhood trauma. And he said to me several times that he really sees us going places. And he'll talk about future cities we'll live in together and what we'll name our German Shepherd. But he hasn't posted me, introduced me to friends, or labeled anything. It was my birthday recently, and we went to a romantic rooftop dinner with excellent views where we got great pictures, like genuinely A plus. Would put this on my dating profile next time. Not that I'm thinking about it, but I kind of am. I sent him the pics from my phone, hoping he would get the hint and post them and tag me, but nada. I gave him 24 hours and then made a slightly more pathetic birthday post about myself and tagged him, hoping he'd at least reshare, since he looked at least as good in the photos as I did. But alas, the dude did not reshare. When I bring it up, he says he's not a big fan of social media and labels stress him out. It's true he doesn't share too many stories, but it's not like he never does. In the last few months, he shared pictures of himself at sports games and occasional videos of his family dog. What's going on here? I really like him, and I do want to take things further. I've clearly said this on numerous occasions, but am I just deluding myself? Do I need to be more chill and accept where he's at, or am I avoiding sticking up for my own needs? Help.
I have a lot of opinions. This to me is a little concerning. First, I would wonder, is he in another relationship? Is he married? What's going on here? Why is he keeping you secret? I think that you sound like an amazing 24-year-old person. I don't really know you, but you sound like you deserve to be celebrated and to meet his friends and his community. If I were you, I would ask him some questions about why he's so hesitant on introducing you to people. Social media thing, he might just not be public PDA, but I think meeting his friends is a little red flaggy to me. What do you guys think?
No, I agree. I'm quite curious. Does literally nobody else know about this? Has he, like any of his friends, has he legit not told anybody? Because that is very sketchy to me. And I don't know if there's any other hints of maybe long periods of time where he will not text you or where you don't know where he is. And I mean, I don't think it's a good thing to be constantly trying to keep tabs on one another. But in this case, it sounds like you need to until trust can be established. Because right now, I don't think there's that much trust. I'm not getting trust vibes from this.
I have a question for you guys. Has this ever happened to you?
Yes, unfortunately, yes. In one of my past relationships, there would be times when I wanted to hang out or know what was happening. I would either not get replies for long periods of time, or there would just be weird excuses for why we couldn't hang out or why things were on certain days, and just excuses that were not very consistent with our life at the time. And it turns out that they were cheating on me. So yeah, run is what I say.
Yeah, I think when I was initially listening to this question, I was willing to cut the person some slack. Like the social media thing isn't for everyone. What is a bit weird is if someone's posting a lot more other things, so like their family dog and their other friends and other things that they're doing, but then specifically not posting about you. You could address it and maybe they'd have a reason for doing that. But after a certain amount of time, it becomes a bit odd if someone's a central part of your life to not be sharing that as much as you would share the rest of your life, unless they have a specific reason for doing so. So yeah, I'd be asking questions in this scenario.
Yeah, you're a person. I think that if he's willing to post pictures of his dog and not picture of somebody he's been seeing for months and months, that's not a great sign. But maybe you set a deadline and just tell him within the month, I need to meet your parents, all of your best friends, and your hairdresser growing up. And if not, we're done.
I think parents at a minimum, after a few months, it becomes actually quite difficult to, unless they live really far away or something that's going to make it really difficult.
Even then, just jump on a Zoom call with them through FaceTime and just tell them to introduce you and just say, hey, this is Bridget. I've been seeing her for the last 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, definitely. That's such a good point, actually. I did a Zoom call with Torrin's family because the first couple of months of us dating was during COVID. So I can't remember exactly how I ended up on a family Zoom call, but yeah, it was interesting. That whole era was interesting. He's lovely to meet his pet. I know I had a great time with his family. I have nothing against his family at all. It was just, the Zoom aspect of it is always slightly odd, isn't it?
Have you and Annie introduced each other to any of your family members yet?
Yeah, I have. So the biggest stopgap has definitely been our schedules, but I've met both Annie's mom and dad and one of her sisters. She's a triplet, which is awesome. And then she has met my brother and my aunt. She hasn't met either of my mom or my dad, but I think they've now seen her, or at least they've said hi to her over phone or video. And my mom actually tried to visit and see her, but she was literally in Boston for 2 hours and Annie was post night shift and it was the middle of the day. It didn't work out, but I'm sure it's not like I've seen my parents a lot this year. I've only seen each of them once, I think, because again, we just never have time off. But yeah, anyways, I would run away if I was this listener, or at very least make an ultimatum. I don't think ultimatums belong in most relationships, but as you've told us, you're not yet in a relationship, and I do think that belongs here. All right, shall we do our next question? Okay, our next listener question. Hi, doctors. 30-year-old listener here writing in during a quiet moment that might become my villain origin story. I've been with my partner for 4 years. He's kind, reliable, emotionally available, and would absolutely nurse me back to health from the bubonic plague or pick me up from the airport at 3 a.m. The problem is that I feel bored. Not unhappy, just flat. We go on cute, sweet dates to farmers markets and pottery classes and alternate cooking elaborate dinners for one another on Saturdays, but I don't ever feel wowed. It also seems like between our two friend groups, we're going to a wedding every weekend, and while I'm excited to get married and have had my dress picked out since age 12, when I think about our future together, I don't feel overly excited. He's attractive, our sex life is still decent, though I can't say I'm ever blown away, and he seems super into me. All of my friends think he's a great guy, and nothing is technically wrong, but I can't help but feeling slightly smothered by the mundanity. What should I do here? We do love and respect one another, so it seems extreme that I would be thinking this, but is boredom a valid reason to end a relationship?
Has this ever happened to you guys?
Not in a relationship. I feel like I've never let it get as far as a relationship. And also, I've been single a lot more than I've been in relationships in the last decade, and very much by choice. I really enjoyed being single. But I think this is one of the biggest reasons why I haven't moved forward in dating usually with people is boredom. How about you?
Oh, interesting. I feel like, okay, I had something somewhat similar, not quite. I would say there was more to it than this, but I was with a guy for over 6 years. We lived together. He was like a wonderful person, really like good things about him. We just weren't right for each other. We were both really kind to each other. We were really good friends, but there just wasn't more than that. And there was other elements that made us incompatible. Like I think we had a lot of different interests. He had a lot of issues with like self-efficacy, and I felt like oftentimes I had to be his mother, which is not a good thing in a relationship. But I remember a lot of people telling me at the time when I was thinking of breaking up with him that they were like, oh, well, like this is just what a long-term relationship is. And you're not going to be able to find someone who's as good a friend of yours or is as sweet to you or who like is going to remember. I remember my dad saying, you're never going to find someone who knows your favorite type of tea the way that he knows your favorite type of tea. And I ended up breaking up with him and meeting my now husband a month later. And I've been with my now husband almost as long, and I feel so different. I feel like the everyday is so exciting with him. We're sitting at home, and I do feel wowed even in the daily moment. I just truly pour with love for him. And I'm so glad that I didn't settle for someone that I wasn't excited about just because he was nice and we got along. That being said, I will also say that it depends entirely on the person's personality. Like, I have another friend who has been with this guy for a really long time, and she is not happy with every decision that she makes. And so like she'll talk to me about him and she'll be like, well, I love him. And she'll describe all the ways that she loves him. But then she's always kind of looking for the grass is always greener. And I think for her, maybe with her personality, no matter what job she accepts, she thinks that she accepted the wrong job, no matter what school she goes to. There, it's not having to do with the relationship and more to do with the way she just navigates the world. So I think it depends. What do you guys think?
I think that's a very interesting observation, especially about the friend for whom it's a theme and not just in the relationship, but like in the rest of her life. But with your past relationship, like you know yourself and you know that that is not how you are in most of your life settings. And I think you should listen to that. And I don't want to tell this listener what to do, but I do think she should listen hard to what you just said and about how you don't need to settle. Even if you have someone that's really nice, it doesn't mean that there aren't also so many other nice, wonderful people in this world that will learn your favorite tea preference and excite you. And I mean, they're not leaping out of corners, but they do exist out there and they are more plentiful. I do think that there is more than one person for everyone. And I think that the world is full of lots of really cool people. And I think that we sometimes have a scarcity mindset with love that we don't need to have. But the seeds for love, I think, exist in a lot of places. And then the other reaction that I had to this listener's activities is that while they sound very cute and lovely, they do sound a little bit intrinsically boring. And so, I mean, if you're looking to experiment, maybe if you want to add some excitement, do more exciting things, go rock climbing or skydiving, or try things that are a little bit more activating, that really activate your nervous system a bit more, and just see what that does for you. Maybe if you're sharing experiences with your partner that are a little bit more riveting, you might ignite a bit more of the spark and it might seem a bit more spontaneous. It kind of sounds like you're just doing the same thing every Saturday. And while it's super sweet, you're kind of setting yourself up to be bored in a way that actually doesn't have that much to do with your partner and more with your schedule and structure. And I mean, hopefully you can find little bits of spark and excitement in the mundane things that you do, but at the same time, you can set yourself up for success by sprinkling in some more exciting things. And I mean, maybe you just need to do one extra titillating thing per month, and that'll fuel you for the entire rest of the month because you'll be talking about it and referring back to it, and it'll be the nidus for further inside jokes. And I would experiment with that before you actually ditch this person.
I think that is such a good idea. I think that's so true. Is it that she's bored in the relationship or she's just bored with her daily routine and it happens to be that like her partner is there throughout her daily routine and so she's like projecting it on to him. Yeah, go rock climbing, do something fun.
I was going to say something on a similar theme, which is just check in with your other hobbies and things and see whether that kind of almost apathetic feeling is something that is not only in your relationship, but for instance, if you're really stressed at work or if you're really tired, maybe you're not to over medicalize things, but if your thyroid functions low, you're anemic. There's lots of things like you might be a bit depressed. There's especially, I don't know, at least in the UK in January, we've had rain every single day of 2026 so far, like every day. And that on its own, I mean, I'm not saying that it's making me doubt my relationship with my partner, but it definitely affects how you feel about everything. So just taking a check in with yourself to see if I'm not sure, I'm not definitely not saying, oh, the problem is you, but just check in with yourself as to whether your feelings are just about the relationship or whether there's actually lots of things that you're thinking, oh, actually, I maybe could do with a little bit more support or a little bit of levothyroxine here and there.
That's such a good point. The one other thing that this is making me think that you could try if you haven't done this yet is talk to your partner and check in and just say, hey, how are you feeling? Are you feeling a slight diminishment of our spark as well? And maybe just see what they think about it. And I would have a strong thought to how you word this because you don't want to make it sound like an accusation unless you do want it to sound like an accusation. But yeah, maybe see if they are feeling the same way. And it could be something that you then have as a project together to try and regrow your spark, because it sounds like you have something really great here as a baseline. And if you can manage to reinvigorate it, it sounds like that would be very nice.
I think I would also just noticing this person's age, like they're 30, and it's actually a really difficult time if this person is a biological woman and maybe thinking about having children, and if lots of other couples are getting married and having kids and things, then if you're in a situation where either you're engaged or you're planning to get married, but there's all of these kind of activities that seem to be happening in other people's lives and it's not happening in your life at the moment and it makes things feel a bit stagnant and slow, it's worth voicing that. Or for instance, I don't know, planning ahead together so that you've got something to look forward to and be excited about. Go on holiday or plan a weekend away, or as you guys suggested, activities. Yeah, something to kind of give a little boost.
Yeah, good luck. Let us know what happens. Let's do our next question. All right, our next question. Rachel, do you want to read this one?
Yeah. Question number 4. The therapy red flag. Hi, 27-year-old listener here. My partner recently told me he doesn't believe in therapy and thinks people over pathologize feelings. This is hard for me because therapy has legit changed/saved my life, and I honestly thought that the most well-adjusted adults had moved past this line of thinking. He's not unkind, and in general, he takes time to listen to other people, volunteers at a local nursing home, etc. But I value emotional growth. Think therapy is an excellent way of achieving it, and he is just dismissive of the whole concept. Is this a fundamental values mismatch or something I should tolerate?
I personally would have a really hard time with this, especially the dismissiveness. I mean, anytime you're bringing up an idea that is quite important to you, whether it's therapy, which I think objectively is seen as a beneficial thing at this point by society, and I know that it's not, but that also does astonish me a little bit. But anytime you're bringing something up and saying, hey, this is something I really care about and has benefited me a lot, and they just offhand completely outright dismiss it, I think that's a big red flag. And I would think very carefully about whether this is a person you want to be going forward with. And I can also tell from the way that you're writing this is that you are maybe hoping he will change. And I think that in a relationship, I don't think you should expect to or need somebody to change unless you know that it's something that they are actively working on and they've changed things in the past. But I think trying to change somebody is almost setting yourself up for disappointment and failure. And it's kind of also not fair to ask of them that they need to change who they are in order to meet you where you're at.
I might have a slightly different take, actually. I have a little bit more grace for him in the situation. So, like, I'm super pro therapy. I actually wanted to become a clinical psychologist and then changed my mind and decided to become a doc. Well, I was deciding between the two, but, and then ended up landing on doctor. Still, like, debating going back to school for clip. That's a whole other side. But I kind of think that in some families, in some cultures, you grow up being told that, like, therapy is for the weak or therapy is for all these things about and myths about therapy. And so I'm just wondering his upbringing and, like, what he was told about therapy. And I think that it really depends on how important it is to her. If it's something that for her is like an end all be all, then that he goes to therapy, then I agree with you. But if it's something that it's, oh, well, it's helped me. And I don't know, in the same way that like I love to run and work out and like I've had partners in the past who didn't like to run and work out, but it's not like a core sense of my identity. So it never really bothered me that they didn't do it, even though it was something that I really enjoyed. Yeah, I think it depends on like how much is it core to your identity.
That is such a good point. I think that's a much more nuanced way of looking at it.
I think I'm trying to phrase this in a way that doesn't make me sound crazy.
Just say it. We all know you're crazy anyways.
Rude.
I would so I feel very split about this because there are lots of different types of therapy and different types of therapy can be helpful for different people, and some forms of therapy can be actively unhelpful for people, and different therapies might be useful at different times in your life for different problems. Just thinking from experiences that I know and have heard of, for instance, family therapy can be really good in some circumstances, especially where children are involved, but it actually can be really bad in some circumstances where if those dynamics aren't managed appropriately or just the way that it happens to turn out for some people. So maybe prying on why he thinks therapy is such a bad thing could be interesting. Not just interesting, but maybe might shed some more light on why he's thinking the way he is. The other thing that I found really interesting, that I find interesting myself and have done some coursework on in the past, is the over pathologizing of mental illnesses and mental health and over categorizing of these things. I like to think of mental health and therapy in the same way as I would exercise and sport. It's good to keep yourself healthy. You shouldn't be waiting until you get unhealthy before you decide to make a change and do something positive. It's like mental fitness as well as physical fitness. But in that same way, I think that being slightly unfit in some regard shouldn't necessarily be a pathology in itself. It's not that if you're slightly a little bit overweight and not like crazy toned because you don't lift weights, that you're suddenly really ill and need a diagnosis. But everyone can always look to be better with both their mental health and their physical health. So maybe thinking of it in that perspective for this person would be more helpful than thinking, oh, if you go to therapy, it's because you have a diagnosis and something is cataclysmically wrong. Actually, it's about maintenance and self-support if that is what's right for you at that time. And you have to use what's relevant to you at that time as well. If you have joint pains, then you're probably not going to go running, but you might go swimming. In the same way, if you have, for instance, a dysfunctional family, you might not want to have family therapy, but it could be helpful to do some CBT, or if you have PTSD, then you can do rapid eye movement therapy. There's lots of different things out there and it's much more nuanced. And if they understand that better, then they might have a more informed opinion.
I love that. I think that's such a great response.
Yeah, I agree. I feel that's a good paradigm, actually, like comparing it to exercise. Sorry to be like the negative one today, but the thing that I'm really getting pulled back to is the dismissiveness. And I do think that's something that needs to be addressed, especially if it's appearing in other places in your relationship. And I just think that kind of points to a lack of respect and grace in your relationship. And maybe this is the only time it's ever come up, and that's not maybe necessarily an issue or it's something small that you can talk through. But unless there is, as Tara and Rachel have suggested, if there's a good reason and maybe he has been traumatized in the past by therapy, in which case maybe dismissiveness is not pointed at you and it's literally just pointed at the therapy itself. But I do think that as a feature, whether it's towards the therapy or other things, should be examined and discussed.
Yeah, that's such a good point. The thing that actually made me think of is, for instance, I've had with previous partners dismissiveness around religion. If I was going to church, or I'm not devoutly extremely religious, but I'm open to the idea. I was raised Christian, but I've definitely had people be dismissive of beliefs that I've had, and therapy, although it shouldn't necessarily be considered a belief, you could consider it a belief system in some ways, in that this is something that supports me and that I believe and I have faith that this is going to help me, and I have had this help me before in the past. And to have someone be dismissive of something that is such a core value to you and that you have had such core experiences with, I agree, it's disrespectful.
Yeah, I think more communication and see if that helps. Hope it does. I agree with Tara and Rachel in that this is not, you shouldn't necessarily make a decision just on the basis of this initial set of reactions that you've gotten from him. All right, again, good luck. Let us know what you did. I would love to hear back from whoever is writing into us with any follow-ups that they have. Let's do our next question. Hi doctors, 33-year-old listener here, engaged and low-key panicking. My fiance is wonderful, but our lifestyles are increasingly incompatible. An active, social, and value routine and helpful dietary choices. He stays up late gaming, skips meals, and then splurges on takeout, and he avoids plans. Neither of us is wrong, but I feel like I'm dragging him through life. Am I out of my mind for wanting to marry this uncultured ape that, to be clear, I love deeply? How much lifestyle mismatch is too much? Can people actually change long-term habits for a partner?
Uncultured ape is epic. Okay, I have so many thoughts on this. One, this was my entirety of my last relationship where I felt like the one that I was talking about, who was really nice and we got along really well, but we were just so different. I am active. I feel like I love plans. I'm super social. Like he was just not that. And I think that can be really okay. But for me, it felt like I was a lot of the things that I really wanted to do, I like couldn't share with him in the same way. And that was hard. Like I wanted to be able to share more of my life with my partner. My current partner is like the male equivalent of me. So it's like we both are so weird and have a competition board in our apartment where we like do all these different competitions, and like we have the same weird ideas for fun. Like one day for fun, we just decided we were gonna walk the perimeter of Manhattan together and share a location with our friends like along the way. And we just have the same enjoyment in life, and it's really fun. That being said, I have this other friend and she is hilarious and she is so different than her boyfriend. And she's starting this thing where she's like, I'm dating a chicken nugget boy. And she's like, I love food. I love going out to restaurants. I love all these things. And my boyfriend just wants to sit at home and eat chicken nuggets. So I'm going to like take myself out for a date. And so she like will always do this. Like when she goes and does like something fun that her boyfriend doesn't want to do, she's like, I'm dating a chicken nugget boy. So I took myself out. I'm dating chicken nugget boy. So I did this. But they have an amazing relationship. Like they have an amazing home life together. They're so happy. And so it just depends on your personality and what you want and how much you want to share with your partner. It's also okay to have a ton of hobbies. That like, my partner, he plays hockey. I have no interest. God, no. I don't want to lose a tooth. And so he does that. And then I hang out with my girls, but we share a lot. What do you guys think?
I think it sounds like you really like this person. I mean, you love this person. And yeah, I agree. I don't think it means that it's not going to work at all. The one thing that I would maybe steer away from that you put in your question, and I think I said this in response to your question before, is the thinking that you can change a person. I think small things are okay and you could always ask. And you can always say, hey, do you mind like once a week if we go on a walk together outside? And then maybe once a week we cook a balanced meal, and just do that every now and then if that is something that you'd be down for. But I do think that you need to be okay if this person were to never ever change and just be exactly the same way in 40 years from now. Would you actually still be okay with that? And if the answer is yes, then yes, marry him. But if the answer is no, I need him to change in order to ultimately be happy, then you might be setting yourself up for probable failure and disappointment. Good luck.
Good luck. Say something.
Sorry, I'm being a bit of a negative Nancy today. Very sorry.
No, it's good to have different opinions. Yeah, this is interesting. So I can't help but compare it to my own relationship, which is there are some things that we are so similar. We have things that we absolutely love together. So if we love Harry Potter, we'll listen to the same podcast. We both enjoy running. He's faster than I am, but you know.
Does he listen to the Not Your Doctor podcast yet?
Oh, not yet. I need to get him on the. We'll see. I'll tell him that I mentioned him. But we have lots of both medics, obviously. But then we also have things that are starkly different. I have zero interest in cooking, virtually no sense of smell or taste. And he's a really good chef, and it's such a waste because he'll cook these incredible things and I'll be like, yes, this is food, which I'm sure is devastating for him. I can try and be like, oh yes, this looks red. And this
You are chicken nugget boyfriend.
I am chicken nugget boyfriend. So I have empathy for chicken nugget. But That said, he's not interested in rowing, and I've done rowing so much for the last decade of my life. And I think, to me, just because you have similarities and differences, everyone has similarities and differences. You wouldn't want to date someone that is exactly the same as you, and you might also not want to date someone that is completely the polar opposite to you. And if you're finding the areas where you don't overlap frustrating, maybe try and focus on and identify some of the areas where you do overlap and enhance those. And then you can both make an effort on either side. Like can buy a cooking book, and he can maybe, I don't know, he comes to a race every now and then.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think it's really important that people that if you're in a relationship where you have both similarities and differences and strengths and weaknesses, that you bounce off each other in those, really enjoy the things that you share together and the hobbies that you do together. But then, if there's something that you're differing in, make a little bit of an effort on both ends. You try and be interested in something that he's interested in, and then he can make an effort to sit down on the couch but be watching a cooking program or something with you, so that both the similarities and the differences give rise to fun.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's perfectly said. I think the effort is what counts a lot here, and if you are both putting an effort, hopefully that's enough. And also, if he enjoys something like sitting on the couch, then maybe you have a couple of nice, cute little evenings sitting on the couch together, and maybe try to make an effort to understand what he loves about his hobbies, or pick one that just falls in the Venn diagram overlap of your various interests. Maybe start something new together where you both go to movie theaters and do something, so he can do a lot of sitting, but you're out of the house and you have a plan. So compromise.
Very good.
Cute. Okay, Rachel had to go, so we are going to do this last question, just the two of us, you and me, Tara. Do you think we can handle it?
Oh man, let's do it.
We'll try. It'll be a team effort. Okay, our next question is a little longer, so bear with me as I read it. Hi docs, writing in from Lyon. I am a 25-year-old Aussie who moved to France about a year ago, and I'm currently living my best single girl, cheese and cheap wine life. I've been loving the podcast so far, and I'm writing in because I'm having a bit of a relationship dilemma, but it's not mine, it's my best friend's. We've known each other for over a decade, same high school, same uni, the whole deal. Even after I moved overseas, we stayed ridiculously close. Like borderline, codependent, time zone gymnastics close, with a FaceTime sesh every day. That is until she met her current partner about 6 months ago. I'm going to sound harsh, but there's really no delicate way to say it. He's a real dickhead. My friend is halfway through a demanding master's degree and absolutely smashing it. While he dropped out of uni, spends most of his time trying to build a career as a cartoonist, which is fine in theory, but he hasn't sold anything or had consistent work in years, and makes these weird little digs about her degree being corporate brainwashing, or how she's going to become boring and conventional. She laughs it off, but over the past month or two, she's called me in tears or full spiral mode at least once a week, sometimes whispering so he can't hear, wondering what she's doing wrong. I can't tell if there are even more sinister things happening, but it's horrible to listen to. Every time she calls me in those states, I do the full supportive best friend routine. Reassure her, remind her that she deserves respect, gently float the idea that maybe this relationship isn't great for her. And every single time, without fail, she swings back to defending him. She'll say he's actually incredibly supportive, or that I just haven't met him properly, or that every couple argues. Then she'll go quiet for a few days, and when we next talk, it's like I imagined the whole thing. I know I'm not the only one concerned. Her sister, who I'm also close with, absolutely cannot stand him either. The whole situation is making me feel pretty burnt out. I hate seeing her so stressed and upset, but I also feel like I'm stuck in this loop of being her emotional support hotline while she stays in the same situation. Where do I go from here? Is there anything more I should be saying? How do you set boundaries when you feel like you're becoming someone's relationship therapist?
I think this is a really difficult situation for both parties to be in. I've had people say to me before that they think the relationship that I'm in, not the one that I'm in at the moment, but the relationship that I've previously been in is, not super healthy. And being on the receiving end of that kind of feedback is really difficult because you feel like the person is not understanding the situation that you're in. Because if you're really excited by and enjoy the good times with the person, then it's really hard to acknowledge that actually there are really bad times as well. So I can understand why she would want to ignore that it was ever a problem as soon as things turn around and are really good again. The problem with having a relationship with that level of extremes in it is that although it's very exciting and very all-encompassing and intimate, it's also potentially very damaging and puts you in a very vulnerable position where your happiness is dependent on how well the relationship is going. I think it's good that this person's spoken to the sister as well and noted that the sister is also concerned. And maybe it's something that they could address together on a call with this person, or between them try and share these calls so that one person isn't taking the massive emotional burden of lots of long phone calls on the phone to someone that they care about being upset.
I want to say for this listener that this is really hard and I'm sorry. Yeah, because for anybody who's constantly on the receiving end of calls like this, and also where you're left feeling almost emotionally disturbed, and then you just have to go about the rest of your day knowing that your friend is suffering, that is really horrible. And especially if you've said something and it doesn't feel like she's listening or receiving it, like it is really hard to be in that position. And I think you're doing great by telling her that you don't agree with what this person is doing to her. And it sounds like you're doing it in a gentle way. And also, I think you're very right to be concerned. And I don't think you can do much more than what you're doing now. I mean, if you have the capacity to jump on a call with this sister, then sure, I do think that actually is a really great strategy. And I mean, Tara, I completely agree. It's such a roller coaster of emotions being the person in the relationship. And I've also had friends tell me, trying to warn me away from somebody or telling me that my relationship concerned them. And it ended up not being something that I was ready to hear until I finally was ready to hear it. Or it was kind of the combination of them plus a therapist plus just the slow realization within myself that I actually didn't want what I was doing anymore. And it takes time. And I don't think that you are going to be the sole mover of her away from this person. And I do think she eventually will move on. I think she sounds like she's very smart and awesome. And I don't think she will do it any sooner than she's able to do it. And right now it doesn't sound like it's time, which sucks. It's so terrible to watch your friend suffer, but you can only do so much. And you're living in France, which sounds awesome. And I don't think you should let this ruin your fabulous single girl, cheap wine and cheese life. And I do think you'll get your friend back. Again, so if you're getting an ick or a bad feeling and you have a smart friend, I bet they are eventually going to get an ick or a bad feeling. And even if they aren't, you can't live their life for them. And they will be your friend way longer than this loser will.
It's like a best interest conversation, isn't it? Like at the end of the day, if you're saying what you're saying, as long as you say it in a way that is supportive to the person and in their best interest, then even if they don't want to hear it at the time, maybe long term, they'll be able to look back and think, actually, I understand where this person was coming from. The other thing that I was thinking could be helpful, and I've used this in a different context. At one point, I really wasn't enjoying rowing and I was considering whether I should continue with that season or not. And a lot with rowing, a bit like this relationship, when it's good, it's really good and you don't want to think about the bad bits. And when it's bad, it's really awful and really horrible.
It really is quite similar to this. It's very similar to being in an abusive relationship.
It's yeah. So one thing that I found really helpful about that is to basically keep a log, almost like a diary. So when you're upset about something, so for instance, for me, it was every time rowing made me cry, I had to write down the date and what had made me cry. But it was just actually for several months, what made me cry on various occasions. And then you can look back and see, okay, what are the patterns here? What things are making me unhappy? Oh, this thing is actually causing 75% of the times that I am upset. And therefore, this is something that I need to change. Something like writing down why she's upset and the feelings that she has while she's upset in these conversations, so that when she's happy, she can look back. And it's not just you saying, remember when you were really upset. She can look at things that she's written and look, that was me. I wrote that. I was that upset about this at one point, and having a log of those things can actually really provide evidence so that when you're in that state of euphoria of, oh my God, things are amazing, they're going so well, you are able to reflect and think more rationally.
Yeah, and I think that's a great idea. And I actually employed a similar strategy when I was rowing, in that I set myself certain deadlines. And I was like, okay, I'm going to check in on November 11th and reflecting on the previous 10 days before. If I have not been happy at least 6 out of those 10 days, then I'm going to have to quit. Or if I've cried on more days than not in the past week, I will quit on this date. And those dates would roll around and I would usually be in a better place. So I didn't quit rowing, and I still haven't quit. But yeah, but I do want to say for this listener specifically that if you're feeling like this person's relationship coach, that is not your job. You do not have to be that for this person. And I've had friends pull away from me before in times when I was not willing to listen to them, and they tried and they were getting tired, and I was calling them crying and saying the same things and they were sick of it. And They very respectfully explained that to me and withdrew. And then we repaired things later on. And I respect that so much. And it really, if anything, ultimately made a relationship stronger, because then I could trust them in the future to tell me when they had enough, or to tell me if I was being like too burdensome on one person in particular. Because usually people have more, you're usually not somebody's sole support person. And if you are, you really should encourage them to get therapy, and they have the power to seek out others in their life. So I think that if that's what you need to do here, is take care of yourself and withdraw a little bit more, I think that's super valid. And I think you should look after yourself first.
Putting your oxygen mask on first so that you can help the person next to you. Such a good analogy.
Anyway, sorry. I feel like that was a little bit of a bummer to end on. But Tara, what are you doing anything for Valentine's Day? Are you seeing Torin?
I am seeing Torin for Valentine's Day. We're going to go to a sushi and bao place that we both quite like that we found. So looking forward to that. I've got a card. We don't usually do Valentine's Day because our anniversary is quite close to Valentine's Day. I think ours is something like the 23rd. Yeah, it's that little bit after Valentine's Day. So everything's not crazy booked up. And all the Valentine's lovey stuff is on discount. So my birthday is 2 weeks after Christmas, and then my anniversary is like a week and a half after Valentine's Day. I just do the sale version of stuff.
Rachel was saying before you got on that her anniversary is the 16th of February, so also very close to Valentine's Day. And they skip Valentine's Day and just celebrate their anniversary. But hey, from Rachel and Tara's experience, if you're listening and you're not currently in a relationship, then one might be just around the corner, because it seems to be the theme to start dating right after Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, no, that's so true. Also, Galentine's. I'm very on board with Galentine's and spending Valentine's Day with the people that you love, be that family or friends or partners or pets. Are you doing anything for Valentine's Day?
No, I am working.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's okay. We're not that bummed. We've exchanged a couple of small Valentine's treats already, and Annie is in Puerto Rico at the moment, and she's getting back on Valentine's Day, but I will be at the hospital by the time she's back. I'm working, but it's fine.
Is there a way that you can link up your schedules one day? Can you contact rotas and be like...
We're going to try to do it better next year, because yes, it would indeed be much more ideal to have it be a bit more aligned and a bit less awful. But we unfortunately can't get our specific schedules to line up day by day, but we could at least try to be on easier blocks at the same time or have vacation at the same time. Because right now she's working during my vacation, and obviously this is hers and I'm working during it. And it kind of sucks, but it's going to get better. And I hold that belief in my heart firmly. All right. Well, is this goodbye?
All done.
All done. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Not Your Doctor. And please join us again for next time. And please send us your questions to notyourdoctorpod@gmail.com. We would really love to hear from you with questions, with ratings or reviews. We're a new show, so please start sending us to your friends, sharing us. We would really love to hear from you. We also have a Google form if you do not want to share your personal email, though I think you can just make random emails. I think that's the thing. But anyways, if you want to submit anonymously and not have your email be revealed, you can find us on Acast, and you can find us if you Google us, and we have a little form. So if you don't want to send your email in, please send us questions that way. We also have an Instagram, so look for us on there. And yeah, submit your questions. Keep listening. We really appreciate you.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Not Your Doctor. Everything you heard is based on our training, experience, and the internet. We are not all-knowing, this podcast is not 100% accurate, and this is not medical advice. If you have concerns about your health, please see your own doctor.